broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
I'm here.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Daniels here for another Spotlight On. I have the coolest guest ever. I say that a lot, but I actually do this time. Dr. Fran Walfish, who is a leading sex and relationship psychotherapist. She's also a child psychotherapist, family psychotherapist. You do it all, girl. You are now on Sexbox on WeTV. You've been on multiple TV, radio, and print. You're everywhere, but right now you're here with me, so I'm just very happy. Do you want to introduce yourself, Dr. Fran Walfish?
Very, very happy to. I'm thrilled to be with you. I'm the real deal. The real deal.
You are the real deal.
I am a doctor in Beverly Hills. I was on clinical staff at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center for 15 years in the Department of Psychiatry. And I've been in private practice in Beverly Hills 90210, the land of the rich and famous, for the last almost 20 years. And I see everyone. I see regular folks. I see celebrities. I see CEOs of the networks, those who pass upon us and those who accept us, and their kids.
So immediately I'm thinking, no, have you ever seen Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yes.
The show? Okay. Do you remember the episode, or there were a few of them, when Larry David goes to his therapist, and he sees the therapist one day outside of the office, and he's just talking his ear off, and then he gets a bill, and he's like, I'm like, that is so Beverly Hills. I thought that was so funny. And then he's talking about the people he sees, and he starts name dropping the people that are coming in his office. I just had to bring that up too, because I thought that was probably one of the funniest episodes of all time.
That is so funny. Well, people in Beverly Hills, they get their Mercedes tuned up, and then they get Starbucks and come into my office to tune up their psyche.
I can't even. I mean, I can't imagine just being a fly in the wall in your office and then going to, anywhere but Beverly Hills and going in their therapist's office. Not to judge, but I can imagine the problems are a little more, they've got to be vastly different in a lot of ways.
Ashley, you would be surprised. The issues, the problems are the same.
So money does not buy happiness.
Money does not buy happiness.
All right.
And it's kind of stunning. What money does buy is security and free from worry and anxiety about being able to pay the rent. Yep. But it kind of ups the ante on other kinds of anxieties. Achievement, performance, higher expectations. People who live in stratospheric wealth often have high ambitions, and I don't want to say this as a categorical generalization, but often there's a lot of narcissism that goes with that. It's a very self-centered, self-absorbed, self-serving kind of way of thinking, and so relationships are not as nourished and nurtured, and that's why people land in my office, and I'm there to teach them once again how to return to what's important, the real values. Person-to-person attachment, contact, and how to communicate. And what I find is when the sex goes south or gets dry and there's a drought, it's indicative of communication gone bad. People do not know how to talk to each other.
Right.
So they come to me and they learn how to do that.
That's a handful. So I'm going to turn the table and ask you how you stay sane, because I don't. You're doing this Monday through Friday. What, girl? I mean, you are so one of the nicest people I have ever met, most genuine. I knew the second I met you. We both happened to go up to somebody that you obviously work with, and we both were giving our 2 cents on a situation, and I looked over, like, well, who is this? I'm like, I love her.
Aww.
So you are sane, obviously. I listen to 2 of my friends vent, and I'm like going cuckoo. So what do you do to stay in the moment and be able to handle these people day after day without almost like becoming bitter or resentful?
Great question. First, I thank you very much for what you said.
Oh yeah, I mean it.
Thank you so much, and it was a mutual,
for sure,
immediate connection. Here is the God's honest truth. I think that I was born to do this work because my greatest pleasure, I don't deserve credit for anything I really do. I could say to you, oh, I get massages, I meditate, I breathe. It's not that. I was born to do this work. It's a really good fit between this personality and person. The reason is simple. It is because my greatest pleasure and joy in life is giving. And that's going to sound very syrupy, and people out there are going to say,
what?
Right, it can't be. It can't be. But when I am needed, someone comes to me in trouble and they need my help, and I have the stuff, the knowledge, the skill of what to offer that's useful and helpful, and I offer it and see it work, that is my best nourishment. It's chicken soup to my soul.
Wow.
It truly is.
Well, that is a completely different answer than I would have assumed you would say, but it makes total sense because you're so happy.
I am happy all the time. Mostly, my work almost never gets me down. So that is the truth.
Interesting.
But the few times it does is when I see parents perhaps mistreating a child.
Of course.
And I sing my song of "You can no longer do that," and it falls upon dead ears. Right. So they don't hear me, they don't make the change. I offer the goods and it's not done. And that's very, very frustrating and difficult to see a child in pain that is avoidable.
Of course. And going into that, I'm sure you deal with a lot of people that are stubborn, or that just, they're there physically, but they're really not tuned in to what you're saying, but they feel like, I did therapy for an hour, I'm doing my part, but they're not there.
That's true. And yet, I want to tell you, I've been doing this work for a long time. I will call myself a well-seasoned psychologist, and even I cannot predict when people come in who's going to change and who isn't.
Really?
I can, but I'm often wrong. Oftentimes, somebody who comes in that I think is never, ever going to make any movement surprises me and quickly turns around. And then someone else who I think, man, this is piece of cake. I got this one in my pocket. Years go by and I'm singing the same melody and they're not getting it. So sometimes you just don't know. And what is that internally in someone that allows someone to be able to change? I think it's a certain level of flexibility, and I call that flexibility one of the cornerstones of good mental health. It's pathological to be rigid, and that's different from stubborn. Stubborn and strong-willed.
Yes.
That's not unusual in personality, but rigidity is an inability to hear openly someone else's point of view and acknowledge difference. It's my way or the highway.
Exactly. That is so interesting. Now, I want to also, I didn't mention this, but you're an author of The Self-Aware Parent, Resolving Conflict and Building a Better Bond with Your Child, which can be purchased on Amazon and also at Barnes & Noble. So, congratulations. Just the fact that you even had the time to write a book, I'm like, I don't know how you did that. And you also obviously work out. So you are taking care of yourself a lot too, and you're also able to balance a lot. And I feel like a lot of therapists in general have that ability to balance all aspects of life, and that I feel like you would probably, do you try to tell people how to balance too? Because in the entertainment industry, which I'm sure you have a lot of patients in the entertainment industry, they're always work, or not able to balance as much.
That's true. That is very true. And I think especially women, because
oh, that's interesting. Women more than men.
More women today than the men. And here's the reason why. There's been a serious increase in female executives in the entertainment industry and across the board in professional work. I see females who are CEOs in the entertainment world, who are physicians and lawyers and administrators all across the board. And most of them, not all of them, are parents, wives, in relationships, their daughters, nursing either ailing, aging parents or difficult personality demanding senior parents. And they have lots of people and forces pulling at them from different angles. And it's not easy for those women to carve out time for themselves. Other than being on electronic gizmos and responding to emails and communicating for business purposes. So those women are often, and this may surprise you, in sexless marriages. A lot of the husbands and wives come into my office and they confide a secret. I would say almost 80% of the couples that I see in my practice are tolerating existing in sexless marriages. And this is not middle-aged young folks. Middle-aged old folks.
This is
young 20s, 30s, 40s who are driven towards success in ambitious careers and cheating themselves out of happy, healthy sexual lives. And it's partly because communication is broken down. They don't know how to talk to each other.
Is it also because they feel they don't deserve it? Like almost as if, I'm not where I want to be yet. Why should I enjoy life? Almost like they should wait and enjoy everything once they can enjoy the fruits of their labor, in a sense. Is it?
I think that's true of some people who compartmentalize. First I'll eat the hamburger, then I'll eat the mashed potatoes, then I'll have the peas, then the carrots, and then the hot fudge cake.
Don't get me started. Oh my God.
So they compartmentalize and do one thing at a time, achieve success, and then on to the next.
Okay.
But most people, it's trying to stay balanced, and 24 hours goes very quickly.
Yes.
And people are functioning with less sleep these days.
Yes.
It's not easy.
No, absolutely.
For people, we're also living in a time where in families it takes 2 paychecks to make most ends meet.
Yes.
So a lot of families are living in 2 working,
of course, households. And this is also the most expensive place in the world to live, aside from New York City and a few others. But this is of course, everything is more expensive here.
Right.
So I can imagine the pressure that people are under. Going back for a second, just in the fact that you're a specialist in so many different aspects, like as with children, with families, with couples, with relationships. Is that typical of psychotherapist, or you just happen to be a jack of all trades? Because it's very interesting.
I don't think it is typical.
Okay.
I think it's very unique and specific to me, and let me tell you where it is unusual. There are very, very few child specialists left.
Really?
In the United States, very few. And the reason is because when you take on a child patient, you're not signing up for one patient. You're taking on 3. The child, the mother, and the father.
Right.
And if it's a child with extra needs, special needs, you're also taking on the teacher, the pediatrician, the person who tests, the speech therapist, the occupational therapist.
Wow.
It's a lot of gatekeeping and a lot of case managing. And if you don't have the training or the energy or the know-how or the drive and heart
that's
to
what you
want
have, for sure.
to save a child from every aspect of that child's life. People don't want to do it. And they don't get billed for a lot of those hours or paid for a lot of those hours.
I'm sure. It's like a teacher almost, in a sense. How much do they do that they're not getting paid for?
Right.
But they do so much with these children. And so it's amazing.
So that's one reason that, I'm unique.
Yes.
Another reason is people either see couples or families or individuals, but I was lucky. I was trained in the 1970s.
Ooh, Disco Inferno, baby!
I think that was before you were born.
It doesn't matter. I was born. I definitely should have been born in the 60s or the 70s.
But we're still sisters.
That's all my favorite music. That's my favorite era. I want to hear everything, especially with the 70s. I mean, what a different time too to be trained in this field.
Exactly, because the great analysts and theorists were still alive.
Oh my goodness.
And I got to be supervised and mentored by those great people. So I learned about family therapy from the original theorists, and I learned couples therapy from the people who created ideas and philosophies, and I've also been around long enough to know the contemporary theories. Right. So I'm doing a mix of whatever works for each individual patient. And I think that does make me one of the reasons I'm unique. The other reason is I have a personality and I'm willing to laugh at myself.
You're a wallflower. What are you talking about? You're so shy. I can't get you out of your shell.
Right.
Are you crazy? That's the thing about you. I love that about you. You are so fun to be in a room with that I think a lot of people might view going to therapy as, it's the doctors. It's going to be cold and sterile and scary, and she's going to be serious and staring at me and writing notes and it's, I'd have a blast with you. I would just go to therapy just for the heck of it, just to hang with you for 45 minutes.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I will tell you, I've sat in both seats. I've been in the doctor's chair and the patient's chair, and I want my money back from the sterile, cold doctors you've talked about.
Right?
Absolutely. So I know what you're talking about. I feel that it's really important for patients to understand and know that all of us, including the doctor, we are all imperfect people. Nobody's perfect. We're all flawed, and my definition of good mental health is simply knowing where our flaws are.
That's great to know.
Owning it, being accountable, so that when you go into a relationship with someone, you can say, there I go again. I'm so sorry. I stepped on your foot. My issue. Oops, that's your issue. Here's where we bump up against each other. That's a good relationship.
We need to get back into that in 2 seconds, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned that you've been doing this since you were 18 years old.
Right.
Crazy.
You're good at math.
I had done research on you, but so impressive. And obviously, starting in therapy at 18 versus now, the era has obviously changed greatly. Relationships have changed greatly. What would you say is the biggest difference between couples therapy back then versus now, just in terms of relationships?
Wonderful question. I would say the biggest difference between, if I could say, all therapy now versus back then is money. And let me explain what I mean by that. Healthcare, insurance costs, because insurance companies do not want to pay for mental health, the reimbursement is faster for a doctor who pulls out a prescription pad. They are not as supportive and endorsing of talk therapy as they used to. So it used to be that a patient could get approval for X amount of sessions, let's say 25 or 50 therapy sessions in a year. Today, maybe they get approval for 6, but a prescription for this anti-anxiety or antidepressant medication. Now, I'm not an MD, I'm a PhD, so I don't prescribe. If someone needs medicine, I refer to a psychiatrist. But that's the last step that I take. I want to give people the tools to use without medications, so they can put things into action and feel in control of their lives, not depend on substance.
That is so interesting. I hate to say it, but so often I've seen people close to me that have just relied so heavily upon medication for every little thing. It's, I'm tired, I'll take this. I have anxiety, I'll take this, and so on. And it just spirals out of control. And so I commend you on and going back to the cave years of just talk therapy, which apparently is just so, it's just so different now. People just, I can't imagine that, people would not want to do that first, because wouldn't you want to have those tools all the time?
Definitely.
It's interesting. They just want a quick fix, I think, and they're not, if they don't want to do that.
That is true. There are many people who do want a quick fix and don't want to take that painful, honest look within. It's hard. It's not easy to go definitely. Inward. But on the other hand, finding the right match of therapist with the right patient personality is like finding your husband, wife, or perfect mate fit. It's not easy to find that right fit. Sometimes you have to court and try on different people to see who works for you. I want my money back. I've built a lot of swimming pools and paid for silver rims on Mercedes.
I can't tell you how many. Oh my gosh! I used to have therapy. Have therapy long time ago. For more anxiety purposes, but I remember trying to find the right therapist, and I started to get this spiel, this 45-minute spiel of introduction of myself, and I'm like, damn it, I didn't really like this person, but now I got to do that whole thing again. And you have, hi, I'm Ashley, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Until you find the right person. It's almost like blind dates work. Or something. It's weird.
It's a lot of work and energy and emotional energy.
Yes, absolutely.
That alone can put you to bed.
Oh my God, forget it. I was like, you know what? I'm just so tired. Forget it. I'm done. But it's interesting to have to kind of find that person. But going into relationships, so you obviously have no, what I can tell from you being on Sexbox and some of the blog posts you've written, you're not fearful of obviously speaking the truth, and you don't ever, it seems like you almost will never say you won't answer a question, despite how maybe uncomfortable the question might be or whatever, which is so interesting, because there's somebody that also works with children, works with families, and also you are just so intelligent when it comes to the sexless marriages and all of the relationship issues. So in terms of relationships and couples therapy, I'm sure you see so many couples in a week. I'm guessing money is the biggest issue between them, or do you see one factor that seems to be similar in all of the couples that you interview? That you talk to?
That's a good word. Interview is a good word. I would say it is not money. It was between my parents, so maybe it was between yours.
Yes.
But it is not the most common issue. The most common issue is communication.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes, it is that people know how to talk about the good stuff. When things are going well, everyone can say, I love you, darling.
Right.
Good job. Keep it up. That's great. But when there's a problem or a difference of opinion or a conflict, that's when people get into trouble. So what people do is they either repeat what was done to them by their mothers or fathers, usually not done well, or they repeat patterns that they saw and experienced between their mothers and fathers back and forth.
100%.
So when they're upset or frustrated or angry, they either attack the other person, or they collapse into tears, or they submit into giving up their position and not fighting, just saying, okay, you win, or they get silent and go to separate corners and don't talk at all, or they battle and duke it out. If they're silent, it can range from minutes to hours to days to weeks. Not good. So my job is to slow it down in slow motion, rewind the tape, and go through the conflicts step by step by step and teach people how to do it differently. Help them identify the feelings that got evoked and triggered, and then help them learn alternative strategies. Because let me tell you, when people do learn how to talk to each other in a way that is healthy communication without pointing a finger and say, you did this, you did that, blaming, criticizing, putting down, all those things, but instead owning up and saying, look, I feel this, and it makes me feel small when you do this. Learning those things, I can tell you, talking is the glue that holds people and relationships together.
Well, that's good for me because I don't shut up. But okay. So when you do that, and you're talking more like you're explaining this as if there was a couple in the room, correct?
Yes.
So you get one person's side, you get the other person's side of the story, I'm guessing.
Right.
And then you tell each one to let the other person talk. And then
excellent, without interruption.
Right, and then I'm sure you get a gauge in your own head as to what you really see is going on. You can't make them feel like they're being attacked, but if you see that it's clearly one person over the other, you have to somehow be honest in a way that doesn't make them feel like they're, getting alienated and feeling like they're being attacked by two, especially I'm sure if you see it's the man, then he's going to be like, well, you're a girl, you're siding with the girl. I can't imagine what you have to go through just to make it so fair, but still tell one person they might be doing something wrong. It's so interesting.
Ashley, I have to say, for your viewers watching, you're brilliant.
Oh my God.
You just got your honorary doctorate degree because you summed it up well. That is my job. My job is to help each partner take turns listening, tolerating, hearing another point of view without interrupting, without yes-butting. And believe me, that is hard for some people to do.
I can't imagine.
It's hard.
No, I'm sure.
Just last night, I had to shut somebody up, wait, many times. And then after I hear both points of view, it's my job to say what I honestly think is the best, healthiest route or path to the cleanest resolution and the best way to go. And I tell them the truth. And
that's why you're the best of the best in this industry, because you can do it in a way that I'm sure still makes people feel like you're on their team.
Exactly. I think that's the learning to walk the tightrope.
Yes.
It's somebody said it this way, that my style is loving and gentle. It's patting and soothing someone, and then bam, when they least expect it, boom, it's confrontation, and they end up saying, thank you, Dr. Fran.
Of course. Because you don't coddle them and say, you're both right, don't worry, go home and hug, you're the real deal.
I say, if you want to, get your money's worth, you're driving a long distance to come see me and you're paying a lot of money.
Right.
You want to know the truth.
Of course. So, I got a lot of, so I asked people to give me a lot of questions.
Great.
I just got, people really wanted to ask you a lot of stuff.
Yay.
But some of the more common ones that I had to put like 4 or 5 together, one of them was in-laws and how, so men handling their mothers, because we know as women, it's easier for us to, and maybe I'm wrong and I'm generalizing this, but I feel like women it's easier for them to go to their dad or mom and say, like, guys, like, lay off, or, let's handle the situation. Whereas with men, I feel like they are afraid to take that step, especially when it comes to a mother, and telling their mother to, there's boundaries to create, or like, you can't overstep your boundaries, because they feel like they're going to hurt their mother, because it's a man telling a woman something versus a woman, telling their dad or mom something. I may have this completely wrong, but most people are asking about how to handle a husband or a boyfriend that has a very invasive mother.
Okay, great question, and it's really a great question, and believe it or not, it comes through my office periodically, especially when they are different cultures out of the American culture. And so here's what I'm going to say to you. Believe it or not, it is not just gender specific.
Oh, okay.
Females have great difficulty also. It depends on the relationship. It does seem a little harder for guys to set boundaries with their mothers. That's what this question is about.
Right.
How can I get my man to delineate and create and set and hold reasonable boundaries with his mother in order to give us space in our relationship? So here's what I'm going to say, and I've sung this song to many couples.
I'm sure you have.
The first prerequisite for coupling up, and this is true for males and females, in order to couple up with your partner, you must first be willing and able and demonstrate reasonable boundaries with your family of origin. So both the female and the male have to set reasonable boundaries. Okay, let me define that. What is that?
Please do.
Okay,
I'm sure it's up for interpretation.
Let me tell you on camera, my ex-mother-in-law, on the honeymoon night, knocked on the door. She wanted to see the bed and the negligee I was wearing. How's that for reasonable boundaries? Cheers!
Cheers to that! I gave her vodka, guys. I'm sorry. I gave her a couple too many shots. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
A waitress is not on my resume.
No, don't worry about it. It's just water. Don't worry about it. We'll clean it later. It's fine. I should have known. I should have not given you that much vodka.
I'm so sorry,
guys.
Ashley. I'll be cleaning this when we...
It's water. Don't worry about it. No one sees it. No one cares. All right. We care what you're saying, so continue.
Let me define reasonable boundaries.
Yes.
Here is what it means. It means each partner, the guy and the gal, must clear their mental space of their parents, filling up their thinking. And it has to be replaced with their new partner, their new romantic love object with a capital O, their new romantic partner. So
just to clarify for people that aren't as, because you're so smart that I'm sure some people it might take a little longer. You're saying to clear their mind in terms of what their mother is thinking and replace it with what their girlfriend is feeling and their girlfriend is thinking. Okay.
Exactly.
I like this.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Because how many adult men and women, I can promise you, in their 50s are still concerned, what's my mother going to think? What's my dad going to think if I don't go to the temple on the holidays? If I don't have my children behave a certain way, if I don't follow a religious practice, if I don't show up at their weekly Sunday night dinner, if I do something that meets with their disapproval, how are my parents going to handle it? Adult males and females need to be more concerned with how they feel about it for themselves and how their romantic partners.
Now, with single mothers with sons, do you feel like that is even more of a difficult? Because I feel like with single mothers, at least from a lot of the things I've read, they feel like they almost in a sense, view their son in a way like it's their partner as well, in some non-sick and non-incestual but strange relationship that they've created in their heads.
Yes, often that is true, and it's both ways, because
definitely.
Often the child, the male child, feels responsible for the mother's feelings.
Right.
He feels if she's sad, it's up to him to cheer her up. If she's frightened, it's up to him to brighten and relieve her worries.
Right.
So, and it's up to him to bring her joy and pleasure.
Right.
So there's the ante goes up. There's a raised expectation,
and
often unspoken.
Right, exactly. And is it up to the girlfriend or the person that is the partner to go and speak to that other person's parent to fix things?
No.
Right, that's what I thought.
Big mistake.
Because a lot of times these people are they're saying, don't put me in the middle, you go handle it with my mom or my dad. But that's not right. We should all have to handle our own parents, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, it's a very, very big mistake to what you're talking about. I'll give you a clinical term. It's called triangulating, to bring a third partner in when it's really a relationship issue between parent and child.
Exactly.
So that's a big mistake, and it can only create bigger problems between in-law and daughter-in-law or son-in-law.
Right.
It's much cleaner, and it belongs in the hands of the adult child, who needs to say and understand the following. It is healthy for parents to nurture every increment in independence in their children and nourish their movement outward into the world to become independent, separate beings. It's not healthy to hold them close and not let them go.
Right.
So the adult son needs to understand that he's not doing a bad thing by setting a boundary.
Right.
He is creating health for himself, and by default, secondarily gaining to his mother by forcing her to create more in her life outside of him, the child.
So interesting. So interesting. I could talk your ear off forever. I'm going to switch this over to something else with sex box now. Question that we had a lot of questions about. What was the most challenging aspect of working on sex box? And when you were first approached for this, what was your initial reaction?
Okay. Let me take part B of that
let's
question
do that first. And make it A,
okay, that's easy. Well, how risque is this show?
You can say whatever you want.
Well, let me tell you, when they said sex box, I thought they were talking about the female anatomy.
Oh, God, right? It could be up for interpretation, that's for sure.
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
And then I thought they were looking for a doctor to go in the sex box.
Oh, no.
My lawyer,
watch everything?
My lawyer said, you're not doing this show.
You're a good lawyer.
Right. And then
that's the true test to know if you have a good lawyer.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
So here is the scoop. I learned what the show was, and I am a traditional relationship doctor, and having sex on stage in front of a live audience or in front of the therapist is nothing I'm used to. It was not part of the training.
Yeah, you're not doing that in your room.
Nobody, they frowned upon me if I offered candy to a patient,
God.
right? Don't feed the patient,
Don't
not
feed
alone.
the patient.
Right, let alone sex.
Oh, no.
So, but here's the truth. I said earlier in this interview, rigidity is not healthy.
Right.
And so I, being an open person, decided I wanted to go in, hear more, explore what it was. So I went in, I met the producers, I heard what the show is, I learned it really is a therapy helping show that wants to offer real help to couples in trouble. I knew a huge percentage of my patients are existing in sexless couples, and I thought, why not offer real help, real therapy with an unusual format, let's give it a shot.
Right.
So I was open to it, and I will tell you the network handled each and every case, couple, scenario with dignity and respect. And I've never, ever felt anything but pride about being involved with the show.
Absolutely.
Now, the biggest challenge for me is I am in a solo practitioner in my private practice. I don't work with other therapists.
Right.
And so I needed to find a way to balance and share the platform with two other experts.
Yes.
And finding a way to balance not interrupting each other and hearing all kinds of different points of view that are very far from my style of thinking or doing therapy was interesting. It was a growing experience.
bet.
I learned from the other experts. I learned from each and every couple. I learned from the executive producers and producers, and it's all the way around been a super positive experience for me.
Well, I honestly, I thought you handled yourself so well. I also thought you stood out in a good way, in the sense that honestly, you should have your own show.
Thanks.
You could handle it, and I think you should be alone in that show. I think you'd be like having a solo spot as a whatever talk show or whatever it is, because you can you absolutely can handle that. Not a lot of people could handle a show solo, and I definitely think just by watching you, I'd known immediately that you could.
I'm ready, Ashley. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, let's call. I'll make some phone calls. We'll make it happen. But that's definitely in your. I mean, you're gonna have to make time, and you're gonna have to cut some patience.
I've got
out.
the time.
You're gonna have to. Yeah, because I don't know how you're gonna do it all. But that's definitely where I see you, because you are just so. You just are so personable, and you are so well spoken, and you just are so good. You're just so good in front of the camera, and that's weird because you would think someone that's always been, in an office with the door shut, talking just one-on-one with people, that would scare you. So
not at all.
So it's complete opposite. It's
I have a confession. I don't know if you know this. Do you know I was a professional singer?
You were telling me this. You were.
I was a singer.
Okay.
For a number of years. In the interim, I do love Spotlight, and I love a live audience. I adore people, connecting with them, large and small audiences. In my office, it's a very tiny audience.
What kind of music did you sing?
I sang cabaret.
Of course you did.
Right?
That's my favorite.
Is it?
Oh yeah, I used to dance.
Wow.
So I love that's. Were you in New York?
I worked as the opening act for Joan Rivers and Rodney Dangerfield.
She's my everything. I loved her.
Oh, many.
My gosh, I was so lucky to meet her once, and she just treated me so
she was
so nice. I just loved her.
Supreme, ultimate professional.
Oh yeah.
So talented and hardworking.
I can see why you two would be working together too.
Oh my God, energy!
So much alike, and you're just absolutely, and you just exude so much confidence, and you just two of you I could totally see working together.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And so, do you ever sing anymore? Are you going to do that again?
I do a lot of the Star Spangled Banner. I did the Dodger game last July.
Well, next time you do, you got to tell me so I can come watch.
I'll
That's
tell
so
you.
cool.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness! Well, for someone who can't sing, I love meeting people that can sing. But I find that just so interesting that you can actually sing, and no one's going to go like this, and it's a gift. It's another thing I'm sure you were just born with.
Only my family, right?
Nobody. I wouldn't put anybody in a room with that. That's torture. They would need therapy if they heard me sing. I thank you so much. Is there anything else that because I could talk to you forever? Anything else that you wanted to share about more information that they can find about you and your practice, and do you do a blog or anything? Or
I do.
Okay.
People can find me on my website.
Yes.
It's www.drfranwalfish.com.
Okay.
No periods. It's drfranwalfish.com.
Perfect.
And my Twitter handle is @Fran Walfish.
Easy enough.
And the Twitter handle for Sexbox is @Sexbox_WeTV.
And And what about your blog? I saw some blog posts.
They're on my website.
Okay, they're on your website.
And all over. I do them on tons of websites.
Awesome.
So you can Google Dr. Fran Walfish and find me everywhere.
You're so awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
I hope to come back,
Ashley. Are you kidding me? You are coming back.
I will come back.
You are coming back. I'm going to have you on for so many cool things. I already know what I want to do with you.
Oh, yay.
You're amazing. Thank you so much. It's
pleasure.
been so much fun. And you can find me everywhere on Twitter at Ashley Daniels and Instagram at Miss Ashley Daniels. And thank you for tuning in to another Spotlight On. We will see you soon. Bye.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
1, 2, 3. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.